Hey, moms. Welcome to the Mom Mindset Show, where we talk all things mom life from A to Z. I'm your host, Rachel Benson. I'm a wife, a mom of six, a grandma of seven, a real estate agent, and a life coach for moms. I've been through every age and stage of motherhood, and I've never met one I didn't like. I've also never met one that didn't come with its share of challenges and personal growth. As moms, we set the mood and tone of the home. We're the emotional support and the cheerleaders for everyone in the house, not to mention the cook, the chauffeur, and the housekeeper. There's a lot to know and do, and that's what I'm here to help with. I want to help you create the home and family life of your dreams, and I do that not only by helping you with the skill set, but more importantly, the mindset that can really help you succeed as a mom. Thanks for being here. Let's talk about what's on your mind today. Hey, moms, welcome to the podcast. I'm super glad you're here. I hope you are experiencing a beautiful day, a beautiful season, not just like season of the year, although I hope that is beautiful for you as well, but like season of motherhood. They're all different. And I've been through, I think, all of them now, from babies to empty nesting, and they all have their pluses and minuses, their ups and downs, their advantages and disadvantages, and they're all an adjustment. And in all of them, you need to get your head straight and keep your mind clear and open so that you don't get too bogged down in problems and worry all the time. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about. But before I do, I want to ask you to please subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, and rate it in your podcast platform and share it with your friends. Anything that you can do to help me get the word out about the podcast is greatly appreciated. And I want to remind you that on my website, mom-mindset.com, I have a free book download for you. It's called Mom Mindset A to Z, and it's just little short one-page thoughts on how to apply mindset concepts to a bunch of different things from A to Z that we encounter as moms. So feel free to go get that download. There's also a part of the website called Ask Rachel, where you can go in and anonymously ask me questions about anything I've talked about on podcast or anything about being a mom, from raising kids to your money, to your house, to your marriage, any of it. I love to talk about your thoughts and how those are affecting you in your mom life. So today, what I want to talk to you about is getting what you want. And I'm wondering if you're sitting there going, me, the mom holding the baby, what I want, when do I have time to think about that? What I want right now is just a hot shower and a trip to the bathroom that is uninterrupted. And that is totally fine. Or maybe you're an older, more experienced mom and you just want a better relationship with your teenager that doesn't feel like it's just all transactional, or there's a lot of disagreement and fighting. Or maybe you're an empty nester that's trying to figure out what you want to do with the next stage of life. Whatever you want is available to you. I want to have you start out thinking about this as if you went into a restaurant and the server came up and said, "What don't you want?" You'd be like, I don't like fish, so no fish. I don't eat peanut butter. I'm allergic, so nothing with peanut butter. And this would go on all day, right? Like, no one does that. They ask you, what do you want? And they pretty much let you customize it any way you want from all those choices on the menu. And then you get exactly what you want, right? Same thing if it's your birthday. No one's going to ask you what you don't want. They're going to ask you what you do want. And then you might make a birthday list and really think about, what do I want? What do I want for gifts? What do I want to do on that day? And so then you end up having hopefully the day you want and the gifts you want, as much as, they're available within your budget. And it's so great. Like my daughter-in-law, Sarah, loves Birkenstocks and Doc Martens and shoes that, they're on the high end. And a lot of times you probably wouldn't necessarily buy them for yourselves when you're a younger mom. But when her birthday rolls around the last few years, she's asked for at least a contribution to her Doc Martens or Birkenstocks that she wants to get. And since we've done this for a few years, she knows it's coming and she already had her shoes picked out for this year. And it's great for her and it's great for us. We enjoy giving her what she wants and something that maybe it would be hard for her to get for herself or hard to justify it. And she gets what she wants and she enjoys the heck out of them. So it makes us both happy. But that starts with her answering the question, what do I want? And looking for it and finding out how much it is and what color she wants and all of that. So we can do the same thing in life, not just on our birthday, like anytime for anything. The first thing I want to say to you is that it's okay to want anything you want, anything you desire is available to you in this life. Okay, as I say that, I'm like, most of us are not going to have Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos wealth, but I don't know if we want to follow the steps they took to get there. Maybe it is, but I don't think most of the moms out there are thinking on that scale or finding that necessary. A lot of our wants are much simpler, but a lot of times we just don't even think about them, especially as moms. We get so caught up in meeting everyone else's needs and wants and making life awesome for them. And that is a huge credit to us as moms. But sometimes we need to pause and ask ourselves, like, what do I want? And know that it's okay to answer that question any way we want. I think wants get a bad rap sometimes because, especially when we're younger, we're so focused on meeting our basic needs and like getting our income established so that it can pay for all of the basics that we need. And sometimes we don't think beyond that, or sometimes it feels ungrateful to ask for what we want or even just dream about it. For instance, if you just want a new minivan, but you already have one and it's sensible and it fits in your budget, it might feel kind of ungrateful or maybe just out of reach to have something nicer and newer. It might feel materialistic, but it's okay to want it. It's okay to want a van with the nice new features that's clean and not crusted with Cheerios and stained from all the times your kids spilled their drinks. I'm looking at you, grandkids. I know how you are. So whatever it is, once our needs are met, we can feel kind of guilty or ungrateful, or just what we want might feel unattainable. And maybe it is for now, but just holding those wants loosely can really help our subconscious start to work to bring those things to us. I'm not talking about hardcore goal setting here. That's a topic for a different day. I'm just talking about acknowledging your desires and those things that seem like they would be fulfilling or satisfying or purposeful in our lives. The reason this is important is because a lot of our desires are innate, and sometimes they've been with us since we were very young, and they really can serve as a roadmap to our life's purpose. I believe that our highest potential and even our destiny is always kind of speaking to us, nudging us to reach for a little more. And I don't mean necessarily like the minivan that I was just talking about. I was just using that as an example of something that we might not allow ourselves to want because we would feel ungrateful. Now I'm talking more about just those things that we desire and we can't even explain why. And some of those desires have been in us since we were super young. I have a super cute story about my daughter Jamie and how her expressing what she wanted when she was just 5 years old led to a huge impact on our family's life for years to come. So when she was just 5, I took the kids to a performance of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamboat. That's a musical, if you don't know, but it was being performed by a high school performing group called Acting Up, and they're like an advanced performing group, and they had such great energy and just put on a great show, and you could just kind of feel the camaraderie between them and like the synergy. It was just a great show. And while we were sitting there watching, Jamie said, "I want to be one of those kids on that stage someday." And I was like, "Oh, that's cute." I can see why she would say that because the energy that they have is just really inspiring. And so I just kind of logged that away. And a year or two later, I was trying to find an activity that all of my older 3 kids could do together at the same time because it was just so hard for me to go from like soccer to, lessons to some other extracurricular activity and still get dinner on the table. And by then, might have even had my 4th baby. Oh, yeah, I did. So I really wanted to find something that would be like time efficient. So I thought about Jamie and how she wanted to be in that performing group. And I got more information and I got them into the youth program with that same director that she had seen, in that performance a couple years earlier. And so my oldest 3 kids all did that. And it was crazy how they all took to it. And they had so much fun. I still remember their first performance. They did Treasure Island when I think they were like 8, 6, and 4, or 5, 7, and 9, something like that. And I had a script on my lap and I was just laughing so hard because they were so off script. But that just started something that all 3 of the older ones continued. And the other kids picked it up too as they got older. And the super cool ending to this story is that is where Jamie met and started dating her husband. Well, technically she didn't meet him there, but that's where they really got to know each other and started dating the end of their senior year. And now they've been married for, I want to say, going on 10 years, and they have 4 darling kids of their own. And she just felt that little desire, and I paid attention to it when she was young. And not only did Jamie and those oldest 3 all participate in musical theater, it ended up that all 6 of our kids were performers. And how that some of the other ones got into it was kind of funny. The oldest 3 did it, and then I kind of was holding off on having my son Sam get involved in theater. But a director from BYU heard him singing in church when he was about 11 years old, and he asked him to come audition for a play, and he got a part in a play at a university when he was really young. And then our son Jacob, our 5th, told me, since all the other kids weren't performing, when he was young, he said, "Mom, I'm not going to be your performer. I'm going to be your athlete," which he is super athletic and super coordinated. But when he was in junior high, the drama teacher and ballroom teacher wanted him to try out for a play, and she wanted to put him on the ballroom team. And he just went for it. I was like, "Can you sing?" And she gave him the lead in a musical, and we found out he could sing. And then he started dancing, and he has never stopped. And now he's on a ballroom tour team at BYU, and last summer he got to go to Europe, and he's been super involved in ballroom and musical theater, and he's just an absolutely amazing performer. And our youngest daughter followed suit with all of her siblings, and up until recently, she was majoring in vocal performance at the local university, and she's just an amazing vocalist. And it all started with my one daughter just expressing her little heart's desire, and it's impacted our whole family for decades now. So the moral of that story is, for one, pay attention to your own desires. If that's something you want, like, I just want to paint, I want to write, I want to run, I want to, do something that's personally fulfilling for you, or any number of things. I mean, that was just a few examples. But also pay attention to your kids and what they gravitate to. I think that they know from a super young age. I remember hearing one mom in an interview recently saying, I was always telling my son to get off the computer when he was young, and now that's his whole job. The mom's a YouTuber, and he is the one that makes the videos. He's the one that started her down that path of creating a really successful YouTube channel. And so, of course, there's a balance there. We don't want our kids on electronics all the time, but, we don't know where that's going to take them. And if they take to it and they have an aptitude for it, it's really important to honor their desires to explore things that are interesting to them. I hope that has sort of sparked in you some thinking about, what do my kids gravitate to and what do I want? I think I need $1 for every time I've said that in this podcast so far. So how do you go about getting what you want in the way that I'm talking about, and not the sort of goal-setting way, like, I'm going to get this thing, I'm going to go after it? There is a way to get what you want in that way, but I also think there is kind of like what happened to my daughter, where you just have a little heart's desire that you're holding on to. Maybe you've never told anyone about it. One of mine for 30 years was that I wanted to be a real estate agent. I could talk to my grandpa into buying a little condo for me to rent out to roommates when I was in college. And as I went through the process of signing the papers and everything else that went along with that, when I was like 19, my grandpa was out of state, so he had me take care of all of it. And at the end of it, I said, Grandpa, I really enjoyed that. I think I might want to be a real estate agent. And my grandpa was like, you don't want to do that. But I always did. And it took me 30 years until the season was truly right to be able to pursue that, because I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. But during those earlier years, we did some house flipping and bought some rentals and just kind of played in the market for a time, off and on, for about 15 years before I got my license. And that was amazing because it was a long lead time, but in that time I got some experience and some further knowledge. And I got a degree in business, which that's a whole other story, but that was just something that came out of me wanting to get out of college faster than I was going to. In my elementary ed degree, or so I thought. But again, it was just kind of that hint of like, go in this direction instead. And that turned out to be perfect for me, who didn't know at the time that I was going to grow up and own a business and eventually become a real estate agent. But I digress. Let's go back to kind of a formula for getting what you want. First of all, you have to ask yourself what you want, which sounds basic, but I think I've kind of given you the reasons that I say that. And another one of the reasons is because when you verbalize that, when you allow yourself to think it, it honestly puts the wheels of your subconscious and the universe in motion. And more often than not, those things will come to you like a dish at a restaurant that you ordered without a whole lot of external work on your part. Sometimes it seems that opportunities almost fall into your lap when you've allowed yourself to acknowledge the desires that you have. So that's the first one, is ask yourself what you want. But here's an important side note to that. It needs to be in the realm of what you can control. Like if you want to have a better relationship with your mother-in-law, or a more loving, tender, romantic relationship with your husband, or a better relationship with your teenager, recognize that most of the work is going to be on you. And that's okay, because you are the perfect one to start to be the change that you want to see in the relationship. Or, it can be anything, like your bank account or your health or your spirituality. Anything that you want is within your reach, as long as you're focusing on what you can control. And as soon as you start to do this, your brain is going to offer you what you don't want. For some reason, I think that's just our brains kind of being lazy, because when we start thinking what we do want and how we can bring it about, our brain is like, that's going to take work and doing something different than we're doing now. And it's easier to say, I don't want to keep yelling at my kids, than to come up with a statement that you phrase in a positive way, like, I want to stay calm and clearly communicate my expectations to my children, no matter what the situation. So that's kind of the second step, is create a positive statement that reflects what you want. And if you're saying, I don't want this, the easiest way is just to turn it around and say, I do want this. The next step is to open your mind to how you could get that thing. Who has it? Like, who could help advise you? Who could you follow online? What books could you read? How could you get a little snippet of that thing even right now? Like maybe you want to run a marathon. Can you go out and run a mile right now? Can you go out and enter a 5K and gradually build up to that? How can you start to bring that thing about? I've wanted to write a book for years. I mean, technically, I wrote that book that's on my website that I told you about, but I mean, all my life, I've wanted to write a self-help type of book. And this weekend, I'm going to a writer's conference. Well, it's publishing and media, any type of podcasting or writing or drawing, music, not drawing, illustrations, any of that. But I was going to actually pitch my book idea, and then I realized I'm really not ready for that. But going to this will get me ready to hopefully get that book going in the next year. So it's kind of a snippet. It's a step in that direction. So just start to open your mind to the possibility of having that. And one great way to do that is to ask yourself a lot of awesome questions, like, how much time does it take to do this thing or get this thing? What am I willing to change or forgo to get it? I'm thinking there of like, a financial goal or something. And how much does it cost? What would be different in my life if I had this thing? How can I make it fun or exciting or enjoyable to get to this point? At the same time, without stressing myself out to the max. Like when I thought I was going to pitch this book this weekend, I just found myself feeling super agitated because I think I knew deep down I wasn't ready and I didn't have time to get ready before the weekend. So when I just put my mind at ease and told myself, I'm going to go and get the information so that next year at this time I will be ready to pitch that book and I'll have it mostly done. And have fun with this. Like, bring a positive energy to it. Get creative and brainstorm and experience it in your mind, like visualizing it, like how life would be if you had this thing. Or just hold it super, super loosely. One of the things I always wanted was a house with an in-ground swimming pool. and like a bigger dining area because our old home was so cramped. Even when I just had the 6 kids at home, we didn't quite fit comfortably around the dining room table because the area was so small. And so, just in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, I would love to have those two things. And I wasn't actively pursuing it other than not having those things. I was happy with where we lived, and our home was even paid off. And so I wasn't really looking for something else, but it was just kind of a dream in the back of my mind. And this is a story for another day, but eventually that home that met those things fell into my lap. Now, it needed a lot of renovations when it fell into my lap, but it did happen. And it was so beautiful, and it felt so like serendipitous because, like I said, I wasn't actively pursuing it. It was just a dream. And now I have bigger house dreams. Like right now, something that I'm just holding in my mind for clear out there in the future somewhere, not sure where, but I really want to own an apartment building. Like there's this rundown apartment building across town that's being renovated. And every time I drive past it, I'm like, oh, if I could get my hands on that, I could make it so cute. It's like got apartments around a swimming pool and courtyard, and I don't know, they don't seem to be doing anything fast with it. So it's just kind of been sitting in this dilapidated state for a while. And oh my goodness, I want to get my hands on that thing and make it pretty again and like bring it to life. But this is definitely not the time because right now we also have other goals of really building up our savings account, and we've still got kids to get through school. So we have other financial goals that will come well before that will, but I still like to just dream about it and just envision like, oh, what would I do with an apartment building like that? And just envision the families that would live there and what great housing it would be for them, and that I would be an awesome landlord. Anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent like I do. So the last thing I want to say is never forget to include God in your dreams and goals. There are scriptures that say things like, ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. And I don't think God is just talking about spiritual things there. There are other scriptures that talk about the parable of the talents and how God gave some servants 1 talent, 5 talents, 10 talents. I might be saying that wrong, but he gave them a certain number of talents, and some buried their talents in the ground so they didn't increase, and some were able to turn 5 talents into 10. And I think with those scriptures, the Lord is telling us, like, I want to multiply you and magnify you and help you reach your potential. And I know in some cases that can be really hard to think about because there might be things that we deeply desire that haven't come to us, that haven't worked out, opportunities that we have been denied in life. And that's a different topic to think about another day. But I do know that God blesses all of us and that He is so great at multiplying what we can do and helping us reach our potential. So before we end, I want to just say one more thing, and that is that there is something to be said for wanting what you already have. The kids you have, the house you have, the husband you have, the bank account you have, all of the things that you already have. There is magic in the gratitude and the contentment of realizing that you already have so much. Your life is already so blessed, and it's still okay to want more, to want bigger things for your life, but acknowledging where you are and the beauty of that will actually help you have a better foundation for seeking for more and finding out what's possible for you in your life. I have a friend, Kara, and she is the literal best at this. She always just goes on and on about how she loves her little cute house that she lives in, and she is insanely in love with her kids, and she loves her parents, and she loves her friends, and she is just such a joy to be around because she's so happy and content with her life just the way it is, which it isn't perfect. None of our lives are. And if that's what we're looking for, we'll never be happy and content. Perfect lives do not exist. And making peace with our reality and wanting for more, whatever that looks like for us, is a great formula for a happy and successful life. So that's pretty much what I have for you today, but I do want to leave you with one little thought from 13th century poet Rumi. He said, "What you seek is seeking you." And I love that thought because it speaks to that relationship that I was talking about earlier, where the universe will bring you what you want, and the universe, God, is speaking to you and helping you on your path to finding your highest potential, the highest good for your life. Oprah said, "Trust the whispers." And I think that's such a beautiful way of saying that we all have that voice within, that inner knowing that is guiding us and helping us to know what is correct for us in life. Rumi also said, "What is correct for you will not pass you." So it's never too late. It's never too early to just follow what we feel inside is correct for us. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you next time. Hey Mama, thanks for listening to the show today. If you enjoy the ideas I share on my podcast, but you want some help applying them to your personal situation, I want to invite you to learn more about my coaching program, where I talk to moms on a personal basis through one-on-one coaching and group calls. We can talk about anything from the personal challenges that you're experiencing in marriage or motherhood to the goals and dreams that you have for yourself. To find out more and download a copy of my free book, Mom Mindset A to Z, visit mom-mindset.com. I'd love to see you there.